She's on. I don't know why she's not responding.
Now it gives a chance to Dr. Joseph Nyachama. Dr. Joseph Nyachama is our in-house analyst, and I had tried to keep him until he makes the final entry to Jerusalem. But since he's here, take it away, Dr. Nyachama.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Masanga. And Professor Mumba, I am honored. I listened to your talk. I was really honored. Juliet, Professor who has just spoken, is my privilege. Those listening to this conference, this is about Africa. I think you have been able to pick the tip from the top on African affairs, the trip from the top, and you will become the cream of the crop. Absolutely you will, especially in the present when the Professor Lumumba himself is present in this conference. Seize the moment now, the listeners, wherever you are, because this is all about Africa. If you are from France, a country that has been isolated, destabilizing Africa, and you have been swallowed into their language, allow me to tell you, please, carpe diem, carpe momentum. Seize the day, seize the moment. Professor Lumumba, I was inspired by your talk this morning. Dr. Masanga, I am honored that you have arranged this conference, a conference where great minds converge to discuss about African affairs. Affairs or issues that have been so elusive to others who don't want to touch. But you, the top Pan-Africanists, Professor and yourself, have boldly moved to dig in. You have given it all. Let me speak from a Christian perspective. Dr. Masanga, you know in the Bible, you remember a woman who gave 10 cents and Jesus said, you are the person who has given it most. Do you know why? Because from my own perspective, the generosity of a person is not how much he gives, but how much he retains. You, Dr. Masanga, and you, Professor Lumumba, you have retained nothing. If Jesus could be around, he could say, you are the people who have given most on African affairs. To that extent, I'm deeply indebted to your service. Please allow me quickly to dig little in on the issues which Professor brought in the morning. And they posed a question, who's responsible for a problem in Africa? Is it other people like the Western world or Africans themselves? Please let me put this in perspective by quoting one of the top American presidents, Dr. Henry David Thoreau. He said that if a man walks or advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with success unexpected in common hours. Listeners and participants and fellow panelists, if you put into context that statement, 3 verbs come into light. Advance, first verb. How? Confidently. To where? In the direction of the dream. African nations, since they got independence, did they know which direction they were advancing to? I don't think so. That could be the genesis of the problems we face to date. Professor Lumumba, I could answer the question by saying it is not only leaders who are responsible, also followers or citizens of Africa. Why? Because, Prof, there was one of the German leaders called Stalin. He took a chicken or a hen and removes all of the fetus with the force, and the hen started to bleed profusely and threw it on the floor. And Stalin removed some wheat and threw it on the floor, and the chicken started following Stalin after injuring it. Then Stalin turned to his followers and they said, like that hen which I have inflicted pain, that is how stupid followers will follow me, even if they have been inflicted pain, so long as there is some tokenism. So, Professor, as much as the leaders have taken us backwards, what about the citizens who follow them? They are like the chicken which Stalin inflicted pain, but when he showed some wheat to it, it still started to follow him. What am I saying, my fellow panelists and listeners from wherever you are? What I'm saying is this. We have three parties here. Those with interests who want to come to Africa, we call them the Western world. Them, they were the interests. They are the people we have elected who become conspirators to them. They conspire. We, the citizens who elected the African leaders, we expected them to serve us as their master. But they decide to serve several masters. Who are they? The Western world. Who's the second master? Their ego. And who's the last master? Us. That is why we say, whoever serves more than one master will cheat others. So these leaders conspire to serve only their egos and the others, and they leave Africa bleeding. Professor Dr. Masanga, please, that is why I took first opportunity to congratulate you for the work you're doing. Dr. Masanga, please allow me to project one of the top African proverbs, which says, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside will do you no harm. What is the enemy within? African leaders and their followers. They have let Africa down. Africa has a lot of resources. I usually tell when I get opportunity to train, because I'm a leadership trainer, what Africa lacks is not resources. Africa lacks resourcefulness. Africa lacks resourcefulness. There are a lot of resources in Africa. We're not intelligent enough to convert those resources into marketable products so that you get value for your people. That's why you travel across the continent, poverty will sink your heart. We who are listening to this conference today, this is a Damascus moment. Why? Even Saul changed to Paul, and they finally said, when he became Paul, the things I used to hate, I love. The things I used to love, I hate. I look forward, Dr. Masanga, at that moment, when the African leaders who are listening us today and their followers will realize a moment and go through the forces where Saul went through until he became Paul. Remember, Paul even wrote 50% of the books in the Bible, both in the New and the Old Testament. But he hated Christians. Let us not lose hope, friends. And I want to say here, before I conclude, There's one poet I love, the English poet, John Donne. He one time said, no man is an island entire on itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. The death of any man diminishes me because I'm involved in mankind and never sent to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. African leaders, African citizens, the bell is tolling on us. It's tolling on us. And before it tolls on us, friends, African leaders, African citizens, before the bell tolls on us, let it be our wake-up call. Let us wake up and transform Africa. Professor Lumumba, you highlighted how even intellectuals themselves have fallen in trap to serve the foreign master. Professor, you touched my inner soul, because in African continent, we have produced charismatic leaders without character, gifted leaders without conviction, powerful leaders without principles. You see how they change parties. Intellectual leaders without morality, visionary leaders without values, spiritual leaders without conscience. In fact, Prof, if there is any category of these leaders who have impoverished Africa, it's the last category, the religious leaders. I'm not talking about the Christian or Muslims. I'm talking about the religious. It's a negative word. Karl Marx said, poverty, religion, is the opium for the poor. That is where you see all of these elite political leaders go to church. Through that forum, they impoverize Africa. Africa, instead of producing the true fire to melt metals, to make equipment, you hear people hearing fire, fire from spiritual evangelists who are conmen. Fire, which is an abstract form, when the other Western world produced the real fire to lead the world. Oh my God, may these spiritual leaders get divine revelation. Otherwise, Africa will perish. I wish to end by, please, if you allow me, Dr. Masanga, from one of the anonymous pieces. I don't know who wrote it. He said that when I was young, I dreamed of changing the world. But when I grew old and wiser, I discovered the world could not change. So I shortened my sights and only wanted to change my country. But it was immovable. In my 20 years, on my last desperate attempt, I settled on changing my family, those closest to me, but none of it could hear of it. As I laid on my deathbed, I realized that if I could have changed myself, by example, I could have changed my family. And my family, through inspiration and enthusiasm, could have changed the next community. And the next community could have changed other communities. And if the communities could have changed the country, and if the country could have changed, the world could have changed. Dr. Masanga, as I conclude, African leaders listening to us today, this forum, this Damascus moment, you, Professor Lumumba, I had several speakers sending you, can you go and speak to the leaders? Because a man of your stature, you have a forum. Take them this message, a resolution we are making from this conference. It may not be absolute, but it can be inferred. I want to tell you, friends, let this continue. in most of the time, because some people have to hear 7 times before they ask, what are you saying? Are African leaders listening? I hope so. And those professionals who should change your various nations in foreign land, where I come from, even if your mother has one eye, you feel that eye as a beauty spot. Even if your country has challenges, don't expose it. Protect it as you protect your mother's one eye as a beauty spot. I hope they are listening. They live in foreign land. Finally, the problem in Africa, we never get planted enough to reap the fruits. My grandmother, needed person, woman, used to tell me, the seed must remain planted until the harvest. Look at Africa. Leaders, they change from one party to the other, talk of divorce. These people embarrass us. But today they will hear the message. Thank you very much. The participants, Dr. Masanga, admire you, Doc. Professor Lumumba, I have no word for you. I know you have done enough. Continue doing until you are called to glory, and God will reward you. Thank you very much. May God bless you. Dr. Masanga, I submit.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Najama. You are a motivational speaker like Professor Lumumba. I cannot manage your speed at which you speak. But I can manage to pick several things that you bring out. I like Dr. Joseph Najama for telling us how Emperor Nero called for fire. Every time Emperor Nero stood up, said, I will fire you, fire you, fire you. Guess what happened? Fire came and took down Rome. So, the message you have passed on today is we shall not keep quiet. We shall spread the fire until it reaches where it's supposed to be. Africa does not lack resources. Africa lacks resourcefulness. That's the message I got from Dr. Nyachama. Where else can you get such brains coming to discuss like Dr. Hamida, who left us with something, a revelation from Khartoum? Militias have surrounded them. So what do we expect? Because we are talking about security in this conference. These militias are not Europeans. They are self-made, as the professor said. We created the problems ourselves. But as I speak, now good things always come to an end. And we are in the final kicking moment of our conference. I want to take this opportunity to tell you that before I call upon the next 3 speakers, that will be Professor Lumumba, Simon Ekipa, and another gentleman from Mozambique who should be coming, His Excellency President, or he has sent a representative, as he said. I want to take this opportunity